Ebola is transmitted to humans from other mammals such as primates, bats, and actually the start of the most recent outbreak is traced back to a 2-year-old boy named Emil. He lived in southern Guinea and contracted Ebola from playing in a hollowed-out tree, which was home to a large colony of free-tailed bats that carried the disease. He died in December of 2013, and his young sister, mother, and his grandmother died within a month after him. And then a lot of people attended the grandmother's funeral, which caused a domino effect and left a lot of people with Ebola, and it spread like wildfire to Guinea's borders with Sierra Leone and Liberia. Ebola can also be contracted from forest antelope and porcupines. So, Ebola was first recognized in 1976 in Yambuku, which is a village near the Ebola River, which is now known as the Democratic Republic of Congo, or the DRC, and this is in Africa. And based on the map, you can see how the reddish area is where the DRC is located, and it has the most Ebola cases. The reason why it wasn't such a big deal before 2013 is because the outbreaks were typically confined to small villages and it did not spread to big populations. So only the remote villages would be wiped out, opposed to major cities such as Sierra Leone and Libya being affected by the disease. Ebola is a virus which is very small. The virus contains RNA, DNA, and a few proteins. Viruses cannot survive on its own, so it survives by infecting other cells. For this reason, we have the immune system to fight off the viruses. The dendritic cells are the brains of the immune system. They simulate the army of killer T cells and helper T cells, which attack the virus. The Ebola directly attacks the immune system. The first cells Ebola attacks are the dendritic cells. Ebola binds to the dendritic cells and turns the dendritic cell into a factory for making more Ebola to infect other cells. Also, as a result, it causes the helper T cells and killer T cells to die. Usually what happens is that the natural killer cell tells the infected cell that it's infected and makes it commit suicide, but the Ebola kills the natural killer cell, preventing this. The beginning symptoms of Ebola is a sudden fever above 101.5 degrees Fahrenheit, fatigue, joint and muscle pain, weakness, severe headache, sore throat. And afterwards, when the disease becomes more severe and you have a more likely chance of dying, it's a loss of appetite, vomiting, diarrhea, stomach pain, rash, red eyes, and symptoms of kidney and liver dysfunction, and then also internal and external bleeding, such as bruising, bleeding from the gums and eyes, and then blood in the stool. The treatment is more of a supportive care that gives an opportunity to the person's immune system to launch a response. Some examples are to use IV fluids to balance electrolytes to treat dehydration, and it is important to maintain the blood oxygen and blood pressure. Also, treating other infections that may develop is important. These treatments improve survival greatly if done early in the disease. There are no approved drugs for treating Ebola, although several drugs and vaccines are under development. Some healthcare workers and others were treated in 2014 with an experimental drug called CMAP. But these drugs were very quickly used and exhausted, and it was hard to decipher what the effects of the drug were. As of 2014, the WHO was considering treating people with a serum from recovered patients which presumably contained potent anti-Ebola antibodies. On January 8th of 2016, the University of Oxford said the blood plasma of a survivor of Ebola could be a potential treatment, and it would not harm the person. More data is still needed because the plasma needs a higher level of antibodies in order to fight the disease. Prevention includes avoiding travel to Ebola-affected areas, frequent hand washing with soap and water or an alcohol-based sanitizer, isolating people with early symptoms and notifying public health authorities, avoiding contact with blood and body fluids of anyone who is ill, avoiding contact with contaminated surfaces, clothing, bedding, and medical equipment and supplies, never touching the body of an Ebola victim, never touching bats or primates, their blood or body fluids, or raw meat from such animals, seeking immediate medical care, eliminating contact with others if symptoms develop.